To learn the good, the bad, and the reality of the nomadic lifestyle, click the subscribe button so you don't miss anything. Click the bell notification. Well, I climbed up here, but I couldn't make it to the top. I almost made it, but the rock cliff just got too straight up, too sheer. I had to pause. An amazing view once you get up here, far as you can see. So this is in Utah. We're in the national forest. Actually, I think it's a national conservation area, and just miles from anything. Which brings me kind of to today's topic. If you had to scream for help, I don't think anybody would hear you. And our camper is down on that road down there. So I've made several videos in the last few weeks coming out to the national forests, national parks, the BLMs may not be as safe as previously advertised by some nomads. I've gotten a lot of responses, positive responses. I've gotten a lot of positive responses. Wow, thank you for opening my eyes. Yeah, nowhere safe. Now, there's been a lot of comments that suggest that I was just way off into left field, had no idea what I was talking about. Crime just isn't that bad out here. As a matter of fact, one lady said, I don't know, and she was reading all the comments. She said, I've been reading all the comments, and you folks are really crazy. She says, it's just not true. It's not dangerous out here. I don't know what you guys are talking about. And of course, I would go back to, please don't be naive. There is a safety risk out here. And I've shown repeatedly different things that have happened to me. And now I'm trying to show you on a weekly basis things that are happening out here to other people. Back in March of this year, I made a video where I talked about the percentages of homicides in comparison to large cities to smaller, to national forests. Some lady in one of the live feeds said, I live in New York City, so there can't be as dangerous out in the national forest as it is in New York City. So I actually did quite a bit of research on that, and I'll put a link to that video right here. And in that video, I had proven that New York City is actually safer than the Apalachicola National Forest and the Black Hills National Forest. I just did a study on two forests. And so what my numbers indicated was New York City has a 2% homicide rate. Now, I understand there are going to be a ton more homicides in New York City than there is in the Apalachicola National Forest in Florida. I get it. But that's because there's more people there. But when you actually break it down into a percentage, and that's what you have to look at, percentages, you are safer in New York City at 2% than you are in the Apalachicola National Forest in Florida, which has twice as many homicides as New York City. It was at 4%. So the rate of crime goes up because this is where people go. When you actually get out into the national forest and you actually start meeting these people, you will start to see the mental illness and the alcohol and the drug use. You see the anger in people. They're just angry. Just terribly angry. I mean, imagine being out there in the middle of nowhere and people are upset. Just for no reason. They're just mad. And so then I showed, because I thought, well, maybe this is not just Apalachicola. And so I checked out Black Hills. That's in South Dakota, just outside Rapid City. Rapid City is the second largest city in South Dakota, which is just, I don't know, 15, 20 miles from where we stayed in the Black Hills. And so Rapid City, again, was at 4%. Rapid City, I think, I don't know, 7,000 people. So all this, Rob, you're crazy. The statistics just don't add up, because I mean, I've gotten a lot of that in the last few days. A ton of it. You're safe out here. Well, here's the thing I keep trying to say. And I know this is a harsh reality, and people don't want to hear it. But I believe that every person you meet out here is a potential criminal. You just see it too much. I see it all the time. I see people come down, sneak down in the middle of the night, and everybody's got excuses why people sneak down. Oh, they're checking up on you, Rob. They're trying to make sure if you're the criminal. Well, it's definitely more likely they are doing criminal activities. I remember one time I was down in a conservation area, middle of the day, in a nice, beautiful fall day. Deer season was on, and this young girl comes down in her old junked up car, and she parks, I don't know, 100 yards from me, 50 yards from me. And I could see what she was doing. She was injecting herself. doing illegal activities right there in front of me. They think that they're so far away that nobody's going to come down and catch them doing whatever they're doing, even if there are people around. I mean, think about it. You know, teenagers coming down, you know, they're going to drink and do their thing. They're going to go hide. They want to get away from people. So if it's easy for teenagers to think, you know, I can go down there, then think about the illegal activity. And then the mental illness. I think most people can agree we have a mental illness issue in our country. And these folks are the ones that have to go out into the forest because they just can't seem to connect into society. So they go out to the national forest and they do have breakdowns. And I've talked about that in a video just recently where, you know, there was a mentally ill person and he was swatting at flies and swatting at flies. And there were no flies. And then he was mad at me because I was running my generator. And like I said in that video, I was not running my generator. I just Googled today, like I've been trying to do for videos so I can share with you these sad stories. I have another sad story to report. This time, you would think that they would be in a position to be able to protect themselves, and they weren't. Again, the details are always vague. I don't know why the details are always vague when it's in the national forest. But in Mount Hood National Forest in Oregon, there was a couple. She was 42, he was 43, and they were at the shooting range by themselves. There was no one else around, and they brought their dog with them. And so they were target practicing, and some person they have not caught yet committed violent homicidal, is what they called it. I don't know exactly what that means. I Googled it, and it just means when there was a violent homicide. But here we have a couple who was obviously armed. They had firearms. Some guy came up on them. As I heard so many people in these videos say, that's why you got to have our dog. Well, they had a dog. And the only survivor out of this particular homicide was the dog. They were able to rescue the dog, and it doesn't appear that the criminal was all that worried about the dog. So please be aware, the dog is a good alarm, but if you're not paying attention to the alarm, things can happen. My suspicions are, they come up to you and they're real nice, they're friendly and happy and joyful, and then they turn on you, which is exactly what happened with the guy with the flies. For days, he and I talked, had good conversation, everything was great, and then one day, he wasn't great. Now they're not able to find who did it. And why can't they find who did it? Well, there's no cameras around, no witnesses around. This is where bad people go to commit their crimes, because it's unlikely they're going to get caught. Thanks for watching. Click like if you like the video, and happy travels.